Two guys either side of 50 with one dream to achieve middle-aged sporting glory. This is the Missing Links Golf Show. Pilgrims, pilgrims, what a show we have got today, Andy Walker. I can't begin to tell you how excited I am for today's episode. We are going to share all of the dirty laundry about what happened during the Macquarie Cup played on the weekend just past. This is huge. There's so much to unpack. Andy Walker, how do you feel?
I've recovered, I think. It's taken me a couple of days. Maybe not mentally. Physically, I've recovered, but certainly my expectations leading into the weekend were absolutely and completely surpassed by what happened during the event. It was
a cracker.
It was an absolute cracker, and there were just like not only was it really exciting, there were just some really random and unusual events that occurred that certainly I've never come across in however many decades I've been playing golf. And you hear of them and you sometimes see them on TV, but I've never had some of the things that happened, during the round happen during a round of golf. And it's just, it was, highly unusual, highly random, but very, very exciting.
Yeah, I really do think that's an excellent summary of events without giving away too many spoilers in the opening section of the show. But I mean, things started in an odd fashion as we went into the weekend. And I think this set the scene for the way that the weekend transpired, to be honest, because the day before the event, or actually a few days before the event, when I was doing a little bit of research for the previous episode, looking at the background of the event, the Macquarie Cup, and as you would remember, in our previous episode, I mentioned that it was 100 years since the first playing of the Macquarie Cup in Dubbo in 1924.
Yes.
It would appear that I was the only living human to know that piece of information.
Excellent.
I did inform the club, and they were not aware because they were fixated on the fact that it was the 78th playing of the Easter tournament, because the Macquarie Cup became part of the Easter Festival of Golf, approximately 78 years ago.
That
so
means
it used to be
that
played
it
in
was
September, October.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So different date.
Yes. So that's where the confusion lay. So we set that straight, but I feel like that almost set the tone for all of this undercurrent of bizarre events taking place over the next couple of days, which we certainly experienced.
So did you find out how many Macquarie Cups have been played over September
yet.
and...
This is a piece of investigative journalism that is necessary, but you will be happy to know, Andy Walker, that the club was informed and the president and the board of the club were informed that this was in fact the 100th anniversary of the first playing of the Macquarie Cup, a little known fact as identified by the hosts of the Missing Links Golf Show. So that went around the board of the golf club, which I think is just... You heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. You heard it here first. We break all of the big stories in international golf.
So, quick question then: has my Golf Spy picked up this story and run with it?
Stay tuned. I imagine that once this episode goes to air, they'll probably pick this one up and they'll run with it because this is what we do. We break all of the big news, from Wyndham Clark's questionable putting practices to the 100th anniversary of a random golf tournament in Western New South Wales. But nevertheless, I feel like that kind of set the tone. So that all happened sort of Thursday, Friday in the build up to the tournament that started Saturday. And then another fantastic event that occurred was the whole family of Walkers arrived at the Hinks house.
Yes.
On Easter Friday, Good Friday, I think they call it in some parts of the world.
They do.
And
They do.
And we set about preparing ourselves for the event. Andy Walker, how do you feel that went?
Look, I think that I don't know, we're just about to play a bit of a snapshot of our
Mm,
conversation on the way to round one. But yeah, look, there was a certain amount of preparation that was had, and it was very laid back and relaxed, and
mm.
yeah, it was.
I'm told by my lovely wife that as I rolled into bed later that evening, I mumbled something incoherent that sounded something like, "Gee, I'm glad we didn't get too socially excited tonight." She laughed.
Yeah,
Um,
no, I believe I made a lot of noise as I stumbled and rolled into bed as well. So I was told
yes,
that by my lovely wife in the morning as well.
yeah. So pilgrims, I feel like that gives you a little bit of a sneak peek about how things panned out on the Friday night. In the lead up to our 20 past 8 tea time on Saturday morning for round one of the tournament, um, before we got to the course on the very long drive, the 4.5 minute drive to the course, we turned our portable microphones on and had a little bit of a chat in the car about what we were expecting as we were driving to the course. And we might just play that for you now so that you can actually not just hear about us reflecting on the weekend, but hear our thoughts live before we teed off. So strap yourselves in. We'll go to that little recording right now. So, on our way to the golf club for round one of the Macquarie Cup, incredibly exciting morning. Andy Walker, how are you feeling?
Um, I'm feeling well lubricated.
Well, that's good. Oh, so's the car, apparently.
Car agrees with me. Yeah, there was plenty of lubrication last night, so I'm feeling well lubricated, which you know always helps with the fluidity of the swing.
Nice, nice, nice. You don't want stiff joints, that's
No,
for sure. David McClelland would have been very proud of our preparation, I feel.
yes, yes.
Shout out to Dave.
I'm sure that his preparation was would have been very similar to ours last night.
Yeah, so um, round one of a major tournament. Any thoughts, feelings, goals that you want to share?
Look, I think I'm just going to take the same approach as what I've taken over the last couple of comp rounds in, acceptance, but not having huge expectations or any expectations, just going out and enjoying the round. Just stick to my process, stick to good strategy, and then just accept the outcome.
Yeah, it sounds reasonable. I my focus, to be honest, is going to be on executing the mental scorecard. So,
Yep.
preparation for each shot, decision making, commitment, execution, and full focus, and then letting go, accepting the outcome, and moving on. So, a similar theme. I want to try and get away from a particular score based outcome thinking.
Yes.
Focus on really just process thinking. Just let the results happen. And the other thing is, what I'm really keen to do is to take away at least one, if not more, lessons learned out of the experience for future tournaments because this is kind of new territory in some respects.
Yeah, and look, I agree with that, and that's the same as me in that. Yeah, I haven't played a huge amount of competition and tournament golf. Well, over the last 25 years, really. So yeah, for me, it's just getting those miles in the legs, and yeah, just trying to perform and execute under pressure.
Yeah, absolutely. You're talking last night, Andy Walker. You're quite happy with where the game is at.
Yes. Yeah, yeah. So I feel good about where everything's at. Um, as I mentioned last week in the podcast, I'm still not that confident with my driver and fairway, so it's going to be interesting how I approach that. I still here we are to just about to tee off, and I still haven't figured out what my approach is with my driver and fairway. So that's going to be interesting. I think I'm just going to see how it goes over the first couple of holes, and then make a decision from there. I've got sort of two different strategies in my head. One, just playing what I would have normally played, my normal game with driver and fairway. The other one is taking the approach I've had at my home club and maybe the driving iron off most tees to get it into play. So I'm a bit flexible with my approach in that respect. So we'll see how that pans out.
You probably can do that on a lot of holes on this course. There will be, I can think of at least 3 or 4 holes where you'll really need to drive it to give yourself a chance at a reasonable approach shot. Yeah, certainly on 3 and 4. Well, maybe not so much 3, but definitely on 4. 4's quite a long par 4. If you don't hit drive, you're probably going to have an approach of like about 180 meters or more, which, you know, so yeah, I mean that absolutely. And I know you're the guy that likes to throw out quotes, Andy Walker, but I think it was Muhammad Ali possibly that he said, "Everyone has a plan till they get punched in the mouth."
I think that was Mike Tyson.
Okay,
yeah, I think Mike Tyson came out with that one.
yeah, so it's a little bit like that. So have your plan off the tee till the golf course punches you in the mouth.
And that's likely at some point. Let's face it. Like, you know, that's just golf.
It's but Andy Walker, we're just pulling into the driveway.
Yes.
Golf club looks magnificent. So that's probably time for us to actually focus on golf. The microphone's away, and come back and give everybody an update after the round.
Yes. Well, good luck, Mr. Hinks.
Yes, play well.
Yeah, play well, definitely, and let's have a lot of fun out there.
Yep. Well, there's the car as I'm parking. Play well, but don't play too often.
Yes, exactly.
All right. We'll talk to you all again later. Well, as you can hear there, Andy Walker, we were certainly in fine form on the way to the golf course. A fair bit of background noise from the vehicle as well floating around, so apologies, pilgrims, for that. But I think that gives you a good insight into our physical and mental preparation for the round. Lubrication stands out as a theme that you're quite a big fan of there, Andy Walker.
Yeah, my voice wasn't particularly well lubricated, I don't think. There was a fair bit of croak in the voice.
Bit of croak. I really did like the linking it to the fluidity of the swing, though. I thought that was nice. That was a really nice
fluidity
touch.
a word? I don't even know if that's a word, but yeah, I've pulled it from somewhere anyway.
Yeah, I'll definitely give you that. Something else that stood out as I was listening to that was my own references to really focusing on the mental scorecard, which is probably worth mentioning because that morning I actually got the ruler out and I created a physical mental scorecard for the purpose of using during the round to, you know, as we've done before, we talked about one of Neil's suggestions of marking whether or not you're following the process and fully engaged in every shot and all those sorts of things. And because I was so mentally well prepared, I created that scorecard and then left it at home and didn't actually bring it to the course. So that possibly wasn't my best work. But it was okay because it was still sitting at home. It was ready for use for round 2. So it was nice that I didn't have to go and make another one for the second round. So I'd prepared in advance. We talked a lot about process versus outcome. Andy Walker, common theme of the show.
Yeah, look, and I do feel as though I executed that process versus outcome quite well. Yeah, and actually throughout the 2 rounds, I feel as though I was very focused on process, and I wasn't thinking about the end result very often. Which was probably a good thing at the end of the day. I mean, yeah, while I felt lubricated, I don't think my swing was particularly lubricated on day 1. I'm just looking through my stats here of what the end result was, and yeah, I hit, and interesting because I did say that I wasn't sure of what my strategy was going to be
off the
tee.
That's
yeah,
right.
and I did hit my driving iron off the first tee, and hit it okay, but just a little bit left into the left trees, but ended up making par on the first. But I hit 3 out of 13 fairways. Now, if you compare that to during the last week's round at my home club where I shot 74, I hit 8 out of 13 fairways. So I did struggle off the tee a fair bit, which then that sort of flowed through to only 7 out of 18 greens in regulation. So wasn't
Yeah, that's
particularly happy with that, but yeah, I seem to have just hit a bit of a snag there with the fluidity of my swing.
you did. That is true. I'm just checking my stats here. Actually, I think I just pipped you. I got 8 greens in reg, 5 of them being on the front 9.
Hmm.
But I think before we give too much away, in this, what is it, reflective piece, I guess, that we're doing now, we could always go back to the conversation that we had post round, Andy Walker, where you and I, 3 days ago, you and I unpacked that round
We did.
and had a bit of a chat about it. So, how do you feel about maybe we go to the post round conversation, play that for the
Yeah,
tournament?
let's before we give too much away and
Yeah,
talk about scores, let's talk about we'll hear our post round thoughts
yeah,
on
our
day one.
reflections. You may hear a dog in the background. We were sitting in the backyard having a bit of a chat about that over a frosty beverage before we fired up the barbecue. So let's go back in time, listen to what we thought about post round. Andy Walker, round 1 is done.
It is.
How are you feeling?
I've accepted what I did on the golf course today.
Acceptance, that word again. Yes. Yeah. So I suppose we should fill people in on how it went.
Yes.
So yeah, what did you shoot?
I struggled, I
Mhm.
have to say. Not a great ball striking round. So par 71, I shot 83. So
83. Yeah,
12
right.
over, which after my round during the week was, a little bit of a come down, but hey,
Happens.
it
Golf.
happens. It's golf.
Golf happens.
And this is the thing that I'm working through with my coach is that the swing changes I'm making is trying to get a bit more consistency in the longer term, because I just do feel like one round I'm on and the next round not so much.
Oh, I know the feeling. So 83,
Yep.
playing off 4,
Yep.
net 79.
Yep.
I know you want to talk gross scores because like it's a stroke event.
It is.
Macquarie
I,
Cup.
I
There's
didn't.
also
I
a
didn't
net
come
event.
here. Didn't come out here for net.
Didn't come out for net. Yeah. Okay. No, that's fine. All right. My round today, 85.
Yes.
Playing off 9, so that's a net 76,
Mm.
which you don't care about, but
No.
I think many of Pilgrims will care. Look, it was one of those things. It was not a bad front 9. I shot a 40 on the front 9 and then a 45 on the back 9.
I actually thought you were going to get me off the stick at one point.
I should have.
You
I
had
should
a
have.
you
I
had
should
a
have.
3-shot lead
I should
after
have.
12.
I know. And I had a triple and 3 doubles on the back 9, which was really disappointing, especially finishing double and 17 and 18.
Yep.
But that's not the focus because, as we said before the round, the focus was about trying to stick to process and trying to stay mentally in the process on every shot. To be honest, I think there was a couple of shots on the closing holes where mentally I probably didn't do that.
Yep.
Tee shot on 17, tee shot on 18. There was probably 1 or 2 others. So all in all, though, I think mentally I probably did quite well, but it was just a couple of lapses, and those lapses cost.
Yeah. Did you keep your mental scorecard? I know we talked about that.
I didn't because I unfortunately I created one this morning and I left it at home.
Oops.
So that's disappointing. But I was keeping track in my mind, and I think I got probably 4 crosses out of the 85 shots. And of course, there's a couple of tap ins, so that doesn't really count. So, look, I probably came in, roughly speaking, at about 90%, something like that. So that's there and thereabouts with what the goal was, which is not too bad.
Yep. Look, and there was a moment out there on the 17th that I quite enjoyed after your second shot, which the tee shot wasn't. I mean,
I rolled the tee shot about 100 meters. I nearly missed the ball.
It hit the fairway though. Like
it was fairway, and it was exactly what we talk about when we say that fairway in regulation is a useless statistic.
Yes,
because I hit a fairway in regulation and I checked the distance, and I was 300 meters out on a par 4.
So you hit, was it a hybrid or was it your fairway from there?
5 wood. I hit my
5 wood?
5 wood. Probably hit it about 210 to be left with about just under 100 out. And it was funny because like 2 holes prior, I was 113 out from the flag, which was in the center of the green. I hit pitching wedge over the back of the green. So it was a bit gun shy. So I didn't hit pitching wedge on that when I went down to the gap wedge, one of the 2 gap wedges, and came up short of the ridge on the green, which then resulted in a 3-putt. So.
Yeah, but you did manage to take a drop from the path, which there was a bit of a funny moment.
We should have taken a photo of this in retrospect, okay, and let the pilgrims decide because, ladies and gentlemen, what happened was my ball came to rest about, I would say, probably 2 inches off the cart path, but the cart path was on a bit of an angle to the green. And so whilst the ball wasn't on the cart path and I wasn't standing on the cart path, I felt the cart path was impinging in my swing because on the angle, it would very easily have been where the club would come through to make contact with the ball. Yeah. So, of course, doing the right thing. Before I touch the ball, I check with my marker to say, Andy Walker, have a look at this. How do you feel about that? Do you think that warrants a drop because the cart path is interfering? And Andy Walker, your response was?
Yeah, no, plays it lies.
Yeah, it was very unfair.
And it was with a very straight face.
Yeah, got me.
And
got me.
Yeah, Steve looked up like just in shock. I think
what are you talking about? Players it lies.
And
crazy.
It was like just a classic reaction, and a highlight of my day because let me tell you, it wasn't on the golf to provide the highlights. So I had to do something to amuse myself, and that reaction was quality.
Yeah, it was unfair. Kick a man while he's down. Anyway, that's what happened. So we're currently kind of sitting. Actually, let me go through the leaderboard. Tell you exactly where we're sitting at the end of round 1. Bear with me here, pilgrims. Just checking this live. So at the moment, this is on. It's only sorted on net results, so I can't tell you gross results, Andy Walker. So net results, I am currently in 20th place, or you might say tied for 19th because it's the same score. Andy Walker is currently in 32nd, or when you're looking at ties, he'd be tied for 29th. So, a bit to do on day 2, but I'd say, not our best rounds, but, looking at where we sit on the leaderboard, certainly haven't disgraced ourselves, Andy Walker.
Oh, no, and look, the course was in good nick. The greens were speedy.
Phenomenal.
Yeah, like they were some of the quickest greens that I've played on. And very, very good and very true. You put it on the line and it's going to go in the hole.
Yeah.
So that was pretty impressive. And I rate Dubbo, which is why I've made the trip out here. I think it's a really, really good test of golf. A little bit because I haven't played Dubbo from the plates before. I've only played it from the members' tees.
Yeah.
A bit harder than what I remember it to be. And obviously that's because it's championship conditions. But I was sort of relating it back to the Missing Links Masters at Mudgee and sort of thinking that's probably about
definitely a tougher course than
Mudgee. Yeah, going to be. And no, definitely tougher. Very tight. And they had the pins in some of the championship positions. And it was tough.
Yeah, there's a couple of sneaky pins that I think we might see tomorrow that they can tuck away in certain corners that are a bit nasty.
Yeah.
But we'll see how that plays out. But no, absolutely couldn't fault the course. The course was in magnificent condition. The weather was fantastic as well. Early 30s, blue skies, really no wind. So we had to go searching for excuses elsewhere.
We both did try to hit it under the wind a couple of times.
Yeah, I know. Successfully as well. No wind. But look, that's day 1. So a bit of a I don't know. I'm not quite sure how I describe it yet. I wouldn't say it's a raging success. I wouldn't say it's a failure. It's on a middle ground. Bit to build on, I guess. It's probably in terms of starting the tournament the tournaments for the year, it's probably not the worst start we could have had, but would have been nice for it to be better.
Yeah, yeah. And look, I mean, obviously, as I played during the week and played reasonably well, it was a bit disappointing, the end result. But I mean, I didn't have an expectation to come out here and have a chance to win the Macquarie Cup, sort of the gross. I think that's sort of a little bit expecting a little bit too much at this stage. But
Yeah,
it's getting, and we've talked about it most of the week. It's getting some miles in the legs from a competition
for sure.
perspective, and
For sure.
getting back into tournament play, and
For sure.
that's what it's all about.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. So, any final thoughts before we fire up the Barbie and rehydrate ourselves in preparation for round 2?
Keep the lubrication going.
Yeah.
Look, I'm looking forward to tomorrow. Tomorrow will be a good day. A little bit of a later tea
Yeah, that
time.
might help.
We've got a Easter Sunday, so it's a little bit of a Easter egg hunt
Mm.
on. So it'll be a good day tomorrow. Hopefully, a little bit better scoring. At the end of the day, what I've said at the moment, if I break 80, I'm usually pretty happy. And if
Yeah.
I can break 80 under tournament conditions,
That's a good effort.
it's a good effort.
Good effort.
So
Yep.
that's I'm not I'm not I don't want to be score specific, but that's generally how I feel. So 83, obviously a little bit over that.
Yeah.
If I can lower that by 4 or 5 tomorrow, then yeah, good result at the end.
Yeah, 100%. I totally agree. But I think, yeah, let's see what happens tomorrow, Andy Walker.
Let's do it.
Yeah, good one. Well, that was quite an in-depth debrief, I feel, that we had there. I think, Andy Walker, I feel like you can hear a little bit of a sense of slight disappointment with the rounds from both of us, but at the same time, I feel in that recording trying to keep a positive outlook to attack day 2.
Yep.
How do you feel about now that you've had a couple of days to sort of reflect?
Yeah, look, now that now I've had a look at it, I've had a look at the stats. I've gone through the round on Arcos, and yeah, look, I had 12 over on Saturday, and given I only shot 2 over during the week, now obviously very different conditions. One was my home club, other one obviously out of Dubbo. I wasn't that familiar with the track. While I've played Dubbo a couple of times, I haven't played it that much under from the plates under tournament conditions. And yeah, look, was my expectations probably a little bit too high? Maybe. Yeah, I can accept that. However, I think we've covered a few times. I still must see myself as a scratch +1 marker, and I should be playing to that standard. And anytime I'm not sort of playing well, yeah, I do get a little bit tough on myself, a little bit hard on myself. But yeah, I feel as though I'm getting better at just accepting rounds. And there's been times in the past and when we've played where I've got pretty down on myself. And I feel as though I didn't during that first round. I feel as though I went through the round, and once I'd played the shot, yeah, I was disappointed at the time, when I played some poor shots, but I got over it pretty quick and was ready for the next shot. So I feel as though that part of my game and that mental approach and that acceptance part of it is getting a lot better. So yeah, disappointing round. We'd already talked about, my fairways hit being only 3 of 13 and greens and regulation 7 out of 18. 33 putts, which I did miss a couple of short putts, which wasn't particularly good. But if you go through my strokes gained, it was minus 8.2 for the whole round, and breaking it down, driving minus 1.4, approach minus 2.8, short game minus 0.9, and putting minus 3.1. So yeah, approach and putting weren't great, and yeah, short game was probably the part that was good, and that sort of how it felt. I don't feel as though my putting was appallingly bad, but there are a couple of short putts that I probably should have made, which I didn't.
What I thought was interesting is that we had spoken a lot before the round about the focus on, you know, process and trying not to get too outcome oriented and whilst I think that there was some success in that, I still think in the post round debrief there's a fair bit of chat about score
Yes.
um, and outcome and if I think back to the conversation that we had in the previous episode about playing in a tournament, which obviously when you're playing in a tournament, how you finish is important.
Yes.
That it really was that acid test on whether or not we could maintain a process focus rather than getting a bit caught up in outcome. And I think when I listen to that back, I kind of reflect on that and I go, I think we did a lot of good stuff. Um, but at the same time, I still think there was that outcome pressure sitting behind. And I would take that away as a lesson out of that first round, definitely.
Yeah, look,
Um,
and I think that's always going to be there though, and certainly after a round, that's the time that you can sit and look at outcome and talk about outcome and review sort of that what score you end up having. I do, yeah, and that's something that I certainly think in the way that you finished. I mean, we talked about it there in the post round is after 12 holes, you had me by 3 shots,
mm,
and I was concerned. Like
as you should have been.
I didn't think with 6 holes to play that I was going to peg you back, and in the end, I did by two. And that was
Yes.
triple and two doubles in the last six. So looking back, how do you feel about that finish?
Oh, yeah, that was disappointing. Obviously, in particular, going double double on 17 and 18 to finish, that
Mm,
was really disappointing. And that I actually think more than anything was probably a little bit of mental fatigue coming in at
yep.
the end of the round. And I know when I looked back on that, even though I had forgotten my mental scorecard for the day, I was kind of keeping track of that in my own mind. And that's where a few of the glitches popped up. Definitely the tee shot on 17 that we talked about, where I rolled it about 100 meters. That was just a lack of focus and concentration on the tee box. It was just going through the motions and really not committing to the shot and thinking about it. And similarly on 18, I did something not, not the same shot, but I kind of came up out of it a little bit and squirted it into the trees on the par three. And that sort of created a big problem because I had a horrendous lie on the side of the bank of the first tee box, which is a place you should never get to off the 18th tee.
No,
But
no, you
nevertheless,
shouldn't really.
it happened. But having said all of those things, focusing on those negatives on it, what I was actually quite proud of is I didn't get cranky about it at all, and I didn't carry it with me off the course, and I didn't let that kind of ruin some of the other good things which happened during the round. And, like I thought my front nine was pretty solid. I shot a 40 around the front nine, which is four over par around the front nine, which I was quite happy with because, in the conditions that we were playing in the greens, as we talked about briefly, they were lightning fast. They were
Yeah, they
fantastic
were.
greens. Great to putt
Mm,
on, very true, but very, very fast. So I was happy with that. There was, it was an 85. And for me, an 85 is not a terrible round. I would always like to break 85, but that's, if I go above 85, I'll probably feel a bit disappointed, but that's probably not a dreadful round of golf. And certainly when you consider that 9 of those shots came off 4 holes, there was 3 doubles and a triple in that round. There was quite a lot of other decent golf that was played. So I knew that, without some of those mental lapses, it could have been a much better round of golf. So from that perspective, I actually wasn't too down on myself. And when I look
yeah,
back on it, there was a lot to take out of that, particularly for
yeah.
the first tournament round.
And look, I feel as though you hit a lot of quality shots in that first round. I mean, on 11, that six iron you hit
Yeah,
on
that 6 iron
11
was
was
good.
that was just drilled.
Yeah,
So I think that, certainly from the last time that we played, which I think was Christmas, when you
yes, it would have been.
came
Yeah,
across to the Central
yeah,
Coast,
yeah.
your ball striking especially has gone through the roof. I mean, I was really impressed with some of your ball
It's definitely
striking.
improved. Thanks to
Yeah,
the Missing Links Golf Show High Performance Centre,
of
Central
course,
West,
of
has
course.
had a large part to play in that.
Couple of tips from Scotty Fisher, and I think
Well,
you've
that's also helped. In
yeah,
fairness, that has helped. Yeah, absolutely.
yeah,
Um, so I mean, I thought it was a little bit of the one that got away, a touch, but at the same time, I still felt there was something to build on. And I thought, we talked about the placings being tied for 19th on net. I knew that with a decent round the following day, that would give me a chance. I wasn't
Mm.
absolutely out of it. I think
Yep.
I was about probably 7 shots or something like that off the lead, which was not insurmountable given that I was one of, if not the highest handicapper in the field going into the event on a
Yeah.
9. So I knew that was a half a chance. Obviously, the gross title was going to be pretty much out of reach at that point because we were, I think, 13 and 15 shots respectively off the pace gross. So that was pretty much gone. But the net title was absolutely up for grabs still, and
Mm.
it was going to be a mountain to climb, but it was not insurmountable.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think I mentioned in the review that I didn't come out to Dubbo with an expectation to win the Macquarie Cup. My where I'm at, if and certainly in tournament conditions, if I can break 80, I'm relatively happy with that. So that's sort of my where my benchmark is, which unfortunately didn't happen on day one, but there's always day two.
There is always day two, which we'll get to in just a moment. But what was really interesting as a result of day one is it was only 2 shots in it off the stick between us. And for anyone that listened to our build up episode, episode 22,
Mm.
ironically enough, you were talking about, well, this is not the ironic bit, I'll get to the ironic bit, but in the episode 22, Hail the Great Man, Richie Benno, you were talking about how it was pretty much impossible for a 9 handicapper to beat a 4 or 5 handicapper over 2 days of stroke play in tournament conditions. You'd essentially written me off and said that this was just dreamland, any of my commentary about contesting with you off the stick over the 2 days. I don't know if you remember that, Andy Walker, but that was definitely a point of discussion around the fairways of ye olde Dubbo Golf Club come Sunday morning.
Mm. Look, and I'm not convinced that they were my words. I
Oh, I
think
could go back to the recordings if you want. I'm happy to do
I,
that.
I think that you might be putting a bit of icing on what I said, but certainly I
You were
was
quite
really
derisive.
I was quite confident that
I think you said
yeah I
there
was
is
gonna.
absolutely no chance. I think they were your words,
Was that what I said?
or
Are you
or
sure?
or at least words to that effect.
Mm.
The reason why it was ironic, though, is that whilst that was said in episode 22, the gap at the end of day one was only 2.
Mm. Yes, it was. It was, and I have to say, I was quite relieved at the end of day two
Oh, you
that
were.
I
You were.
that I
You
had
were.
a two-shot lead, and certainly coming into after 12, and then coming into 17, because you still actually had a one-shot lead
Mm,
coming into 17, and I finished par bogey, and you finished double
double, double.
double. Just to hand me a two-shot lead on a bit of a platter, I was quite
Yeah,
relieved,
it
and
was
and
disappointing. It was a
yeah.
disappointing finish. But I wasn't going to focus on it because I knew we still had 18 holes to play. Now, before we get to round two, we do need to talk about what happened that evening, because we'd finished the round. We were expecting the following morning to wake up in the morning, have a bit of well, not have a sleep in, but certainly have an Easter egg hunt because it was Easter Sunday with the kids, and then mosey on down to the golf course for an 11:07 tee time
Yes, it was.
with 2 of the pilgrims who were fortunate enough to play the round with on Saturday, Dave and Nee. We got a message late that night. When I say late, probably about 8:30, 9 o'clock that night, from one of the pilgrims saying that not only had the top 8 been seeded, but the whole field had been seeded.
Mm.
Now, before we debrief that, we might go into our recording from the following morning because I think we actually said it best
Right.
live.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then whatever's missed, we can come back to. But just a little warning: this pre-round discussion does get cut short due to a little technical glitch in the car. It's fine; no one was hurt. No, it was no accident. It was totally fine. It was just that the phone cut out. So we'll go to Sunday morning, Andy and Steve, and hear what they had to say about life. Strap yourselves in, ladies and gentlemen. So, Andy Walker, we are driving out of the driveway to the course for day 2 of the Macquarie Cup, and I think the lead story is the shenanigans with tee times.
Yes, I think we were making the point this morning that I don't think we've had as many tee times for one day's golf as what we've had this trip.
Yeah, so for background, for most tournaments, you might see, say, the top 8 or so people seeded for round 2. In this year's Macquarie Cup, clubs made the decision to seed everybody, but then keep it a secret and not necessarily tell anybody.
Yeah.
So we kind of woke up, or last night actually, we got the heads up that we'd been shifted around, and I think we're now up to our 4th different tee time this morning.
Yeah, look, and I don't have a problem with seeded tee times for, say, the top 8. That's a pretty standard event in this day and age. For
what about the top 50?
Yeah, look, a seeded draw for the whole field, and then not tell anyone about it. Look, I'm not necessarily convinced that that's the best way to go about it.
No, but anyway, we got it all sorted eventually. We're in the same group, and that is good. So today's a new day, and sun's shining once again. Andy Walker, how do you feel about your game?
Look, looking back at some of my scores over the last 12 months, I seem to be in this sort of cycle of one good round, next pretty ordinary round, one good round, next pretty ordinary round. So I'm due. I'm due for a good round. So I had a good round last week in the comp at my local club. Fairly disappointing first round of the Macquarie Cup. So I reckon I'm due for a good round.
Due for a good round. That sounds like positive thinking. I think I might say that I'm also due for a good round. Look, yesterday wasn't terrible. There was 3 or 4 poor holes, which really was driven by sort of 1 or 2 bad shots on each of those holes. And that's where we dropped out. But I think, in fairness, it's a pretty good summary. It wasn't a terrible round we just talked about, and it was just a couple of bad holes driven by a couple of bad shots. That sounds a lot to me like golf, Andy Walker.
Yes. Yeah.
So we get to the course, and we finally did end up in the same group, which was good, playing with another of the fantastic Pilgrims, which was a great day out. We're actually a 3-ball.
It was.
So Alex from New South Wales got a front row seat to what turned out to be one of the most interesting yet strange days of golf that I think we've had the joy of experiencing.
Yes, yes. And look, credit to Alex, because he was really good company on the way around, really good guy. We had a couple of really good chats. And yeah, he actually followed the scoring hole by hole, and sort of gave us updates actually throughout the round as to what the state of affairs were. So he was just as engaged as what we were in our personal battle.
He was vested. There's no doubting that. He was absolutely vested, and he did provide a lot of updates. And I think everyone will be happy to know that he was specifically updating whoever it was out of the 2 of us that was leading, just to make sure that we were aware.
Yeah.
I don't know that his updates were always 100% accurate, but
No, but look, he did, well, certainly once, because he was in a cart and we were walking, and sort of in between sort of shots, he came over, and as he sort of drove past, said to me, "Oh, I've just got into Hinksy's ear just to, let him know and get him to start thinking about maybe beating you gross." And I'm like, yeah, good one, Alex. I like it.
He did. He absolutely did. He was loving it. So anyway, let's get into it. I think to cover this round, the only way that we can really do it and do it justice is to go on a hole by hole, score by score basis. Yeah. Because it really did have a lot of emotional ups and downs throughout the day. So we stood on the first tee, and Andy Walker had a 2-shot lead.
Right.
So there was a bit to do, but I wasn't feeling any pressure because I was very much the underdog. I thought, good round of golf here, we could go okay. Played the first hole, and which is a par 5, after squirting my layup into the trees, with a chip up, a chip out, and a good up and down, made par.
And it was a pretty good putt. What was it? Maybe 15, 18 feet. You
I thought it was about
rolled the par putt
35,
in.
but like we'll go with
Close
15
enough.
to 18.
Yeah, what's about 20 feet between friends.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I mean,
But no, it was a good putt.
I felt pretty good on that first hole because I hit a really good driving iron, hit the same club for my second shot, and I was only probably 45 meters to the green and pitched up two putts for par, and I thought, yeah, that's pretty good. That's pretty regulation. Came out of the middle of the club. I was feeling pretty good about myself on the second tee, I have to admit.
It was good. So we got through the first hole. You maintain your 2-shot lead. So we stand on the tee box. Um, I had another good drive. And stuck one on the green pin high, two putt, very, very close to birdie, but no, 2-putt par. So safe tap in par. Pretty happy with that. Andy Walker, do you remember how you went on that hole?
Yeah, look, I hit a pretty solid fairway from the tee. I was in the middle of the fairway. I hit a 6 iron that I squirted a bit right, and it actually hit the downslope
Mm,
of the green and just kicked hard long and right, and ended up just short of the path on a bare lie under one of the trees there. And I tough shot. I did try to, because it was pretty. There's a bit of rough in between where I was and on the green, and I couldn't have run it, so I felt as though I needed to take my 58 and lob it on the green, and just went straight under it,
mm. Ground
just
gives
short
way
of
in that situation.
yeah,
Yeah, no good.
just short of the green. Um, but then I got down into from there. I held a really good bogey putt, sort of
Mm,
down the hill a little bit, probably 1.5 meters for a bogey, so for a five. And I felt as though, yeah, what wasn't the best, but I was prepared to accept that. It was a sort of par bogey start.
mm. We moved to the third tee, and I've cut the lead in half. Andy
Mm.
Walker now leads by only one shot
Yep.
after 2 holes. So we moved to the third tee. Third hole, I was pretty happy with. Smoked a drive straight up the right side. Hit my second just short of the green to a front pin. Chipped on, ran past a little, but a good downhill putt straight in the heart
Yeah.
for a
Never looked
par
like missing.
four.
Mm.
Another par, 3 pars in a row. It was a good start. Andy Walker, this was an interesting hole for you.
Yeah, look, and the after a couple of rounds of not actually having a duck hook, the duck hook came out,
Didn't
decided
it?
to rear its ugly head and went into the left trees. And I thought, you know
And it,
what,
and it really
it's
did go into the left trees.
I thought, you know what, it's not that bad. I can, just pitch out and get on the green, maybe have a chance of making par. Got down there, and I called you over
Yeah.
to say, look at this.
Yeah.
Alex came over, had a look at it. The guys from the adjacent hole actually
16,
came
playing
over and,
16. It's the
playing
16th
60,
fairway. Yeah.
came over and had a look at my lie. And what it had done, it had gone into the tree and become lodged probably a meter
Yeah.
up the trunk of a tree under a piece of bark.
Can't believe you found it, actually.
And I just, I, I actually walked straight up to it, and because I sort of knew obviously whereabouts it went. And as I got nearer, I went, is that a ball? No, it can't be. And as I got closer and closer, I went, oh, it's a ball. I'm like, oh, it can't be my ball, surely. Anyway, it was.
It was.
So anyway, called everyone over. We all had a bit of a giggle about it because, again, highly unusual. And again, as I alluded to at the start of the episode, I've never had something like that happen. And you see people, I think Bernard Langer at one stage had his ball lodged in a tree, he had to climb the tree and go and get it.
Mm,
But I've never had I mean, I've been dead where I've been in a bush or I've been up against the trunk of a tree, but I've
mm.
never actually had my ball lodge
Stuck in
under
the
a
bark.
piece of bark.
It's pretty unusual. So what did you do, Andy Walker? Did you take an unplayable and take a drop?
No, I had a swing.
Played a bit of T-ball
A
out of the tree.
a left-handed swing
Yes,
with
yes.
an 8 iron.
And our
Uh,
very good friend, as our very good friend Richard from Ireland says, you used your 3 iron.
it
Not
was
sure if
my
that was an
tree
Irish
iron.
accent, but anyway.
Yeah, and look, I missed it, but fortunately, I actually hit the bark
Mm,
and dislodged the ball, and
mm.
the ball went down the trunk of the tree and straight through my legs.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, we will post a video of this very shot on our social media channels because we did get it from not one but two angles. We had multiple cameras on this at the time because we knew it was something special, and it did not disappoint. Let me tell you. So we will absolutely be sharing that, and I think you'll enjoy it just as much as Alex and I did on the day. How did you
Yes.
finish the hole, Andy Walker?
Oh, look, I punched a 4 iron back out, probably, I don't know, 25, 30 meters short of the green. Felt as though I hit a pretty good pitch, but it hit downslope and kicked on a little bit. And then I had a bit of a downhill putt,
Mm.
which I rolled maybe 8 foot past and missed the returning for a seven,
A
a
triple,
triple bogey seven.
which meant that the day that started with Andy Walker having a two-shot lead after 3 holes
Had flipped.
was reversed. I now held that two-shot lead, so we moved on to four. Four is a long par four, slight dog leg right. I made bogey. You made bogey.
Yep. Yeah, and look, I hit the snap hook came out on the third and the complete opposite on four, and that I hit a bit of a block
Mm.
right and just punched it out. And I actually hit a third shot, hit a really good shot in there to what about 2 meters, and I felt pretty good over the putt. But I just pulled it and missed, so made
Yep.
bogey. So
Yep.
yeah, what was that like 5 over after four? Pretty
You were.
pretty
You
disappointed.
were.
I
I
was.
was one. I was one over.
Mm.
Um, so we stand on the fifth short par three. Trying to remember what club I hit. I think I hit a 9 iron.
Yeah, I did not know.
Onto the green. Safe two putt par.
Yeah, look, and same. I two putted for par. However, the putt I hit about maybe 18
Yes.
inches
Did.
short of the hole hit a pitch mark.
Did.
It was
Did.
going dead set right in the middle of the cup. Hit a pitch
Uh,
mark, which knocked it offline, lipped out to
yeah,
about a foot, and I tapped in, which I know, because I was,
I'll take your word for it.
I was up in arms about it, and yeah, you weren't particularly devastated on my behalf.
Was it my pitch mark? I don't know. It wasn't.
Well, it was
Pilgrims, it
it
was
was a
not.
spike mark. Wasn't a pitch
It
mark.
wasn't.
So
It was.
yeah, I think maybe you'd sort of kicked up some grass on the way to your ball.
Tap dancing on your line. Yeah. So we moved to the sixth short par four. Uh, I made a par. You drive up the middle, sandwich on the green, two putts. Safe as houses.
Yeah, and me a bit of a snappy again into the tree line. I actually hit. I was only about maybe 110 to the flag, and I hit this really what I felt like was a really good punch 8 iron, which landed in the middle of the green and just sort of rolled over the
Mm.
back, which I was a bit disappointed about, but the trusty 58 got me to a sort of a meter or maybe a little bit over a meter, and yeah, putt just never looked like missing it straight in the middle. So, ah,
It was a good recovery because things were threatening to get ugly at that point.
yeah.
So then we moved on to seven. Seven's par five. I wouldn't say I hit bad drive, but I blocked it a little left and had a
Mm.
little bit of tree trouble. But nevertheless, there's a channel there, which I had. I got through the channel with a 7 iron. The 7 iron unfortunately trickled into the right rough, which meant that my wedge in was from the rough and caught a bit of a flyer, Andy Walker, over the back of the green. And that resulted in an unnecessary bogey six.
Mm. Mm.
Slight window of opportunity
Yeah,
freaking open.
and look from the tee. I mean, I probably hit my best drive of the weekend
You
on
did.
off that tee. I absolutely smoked a drive up there, and I had a 3 iron, my 3 driving iron in my hand for my second. I felt I felt birdie coming on,
Mm,
and I've hit it about 40 meters right into the trees.
mm,
And that was one of the more disappointing shots of the weekend, because I really felt as though that was my time to maybe step on the gas and get myself back into the contest. And I found myself just, yeah, in the bundy. So I had no shot at the flag really. All I could do is just get a 7 iron and run it through the rough to the front of the green. I was just off the front of the green, but still was able to putt, two putt for par.
yeah, quality. So we moved to eight. Eight's a long par three. It's playing about 180 odd meters,
Yep.
slightly downhill. Took the four hybrid, just pushed it a touch left of the left bunker, which left me with a very, very tricky chip with the green way
Mm,
above and a tight pin, short sided, of course, which I chipped. And I thought I had a pretty good chip actually, but it just
yeah,
rolled and rolled and
that was
rolled
a
to the
tough
far side
shot.
of the green.
It was a tough shot.
Look, it was one of those ones where the focus is going, don't try and get too cute because the bad miss is leaving it at your feet.
Yeah.
And it's
Or in the
much
bunker.
better. Yeah, and that's right because there's a bunker there as well. And it's better to be putting from the far side of the green than chipping again from where you started. So look, it was okay. Two putt from there for bogey. It was not a bad hole really. Like after missing the green, and it's a tough green to hit. To be fair,
Mm.
but hit it you did, Andy Walker.
I did. It was one of my better shots of the round. I hit a 4 iron, probably to maybe 18 feet. And I didn't hit the best putt, I have to say. But it still left me only with a couple of inches to the right, couple of inch tap in for an easy three.
Which after eight holes brought us back to even.
Mm, yes. And
How
look,
about
at that
that?
stage, I'd had a pretty ordinary start over the first four, but I'd just made four pars in a row. So I sort of felt, yeah, I was getting it back. 5 over wasn't great, but yeah, I was feeling reasonable at that stage.
Yep, yep, and rightly so. So we moved to the ninth. Ninth is a par four. And on the ninth, we both got aggressive off the tee at the corner.
Mm,
It's dogleg
yeah.
left. We
Well,
both took
what
it
wasn't
on.
aiming to be aggressive, but we both did.
I know, likewise. It's we did. Um, I did squeeze through, had a shot at the green, which unfortunately I didn't get the cleanest of contact with gap wedge. And I hit the front of the green, the pin right at the back of the green, and it was a three putt bogey, which was
Mm.
a little frustrating to have three bogeys on the trot.
Yeah. Well, I mean, mine, same line as yours, but must have caught a tree or something and sort of
Just didn't
dropped
hit it as hard, is how I read it.
potentially, or it got caught up in the tree line. And I had a bit of a tricky shot. I couldn't, again, sort of similar to my shot on five or six, sorry, on six, in that I couldn't actually. I had about 130, which would have been sort of maybe sort of a 9 iron, but yeah, I had to keep it under the tree, so I pulled out a 6 iron and hit a really quality punch 6 iron straight at the flag, but again, just a bit too hard, landed in the center of the green and rolled a little bit through, probably a meter over the back of the green, but I was still able to putt. Knocked the first one a little bit past, a little bit speedy down the hill, but yeah, solid second putt.
Yep, rock solid.
Made par for a front nine of 41 5 over.
Yes. So you were 41 5 over, at a front nine of 44 over again. Same score on the front nine 2 days in a row.
Yeah, which I,
I
I did as well, which was quite interesting. We both had the same score
Same score
on the
on
front
the
nine
front nine,
both days.
which made us both go, geez, I hope the back nine's better than it was yesterday.
That was the conversation
It was
on the
exactly
way to
the
the 10th
conversation.
tee. Yeah.
Yeah, so we got to 10. And 10 is a slight dogleg left par four, only very slight. Um, anyway, I hit my drive slightly right, had a little bit of overhanging tree trouble. There's only about 105 out, but I couldn't put any loft on it. So I had to bunt a 6 iron, which I really stupidly did into the right hand bunker, which
Mm.
is the high side of the green.
And again, tough bunker shot.
Oh, and I was on the back side of the bunker with a downhill lie, trying to lob it onto the green, which was all just running straight away from me. Um, Quite a terrifying shot with another
Mm.
bunker on the other side of the green. And I hit what I reckon is one of my best ever bunker shots, to be honest. Managed to get it out, catch a bit of the fringe of the green to slow it down, and it just rolled out, stayed on the green on the far side, and then sunk the, what would it have been, 15 footer or something like that, coming back for an incredible sand save par.
Yep. Yep.
I was pretty happy with that.
And a great up and down it was, I have to admit.
So that was a moment right there. I think
Mm.
it's very
Yep.
exciting.
Yeah, yeah. So my on the 10th, I hit a reasonable drive, not my best, but it was reasonable. I had around about 98 to the flag. So I pulled out it was into the wind a little bit. So I pulled out my 50 degree, and I had an ant halfway through my backswing start to crawl towards my ball, which I should
Also,
have
not even
stopped.
not even on your ball.
Not even on my ball. I could see it in the grass. It just caught my peripheral vision.
Oh
And
man.
I could have and should have stopped, but I
Ladies and
didn't.
gentlemen, on a golf course out in nature, Andy Walker has been put off by an
By an ant.
ant
Yep.
crawling on the grass.
Yep. Yep.
What
I
would
know.
Neil Smith or Josh Nichols say about that?
Well, they would have said just pull out of the shot, but I didn't. I kept on going, just bladed my ball into the tree just short of the green, and it
Oh, good.
popped out into the rough. And I hit what I thought was a reasonably good little pitch shot to maybe 2 meters, and made the putt, which I was pretty relieved, pretty happy about to maintain my one shot lead.
Yeah, yeah, it was good. It was good. So then we move on to the 11th tee, par three, round about 157 meters to the flag. I think it was a back pin. This is where I was feeling very confident on the tee box, because the day before I'd smoked that 6 iron that
Yeah.
you mentioned earlier, to the back fringe. So I thought, perfect, pull the same club, hit the same shot. Great plan. Pulled the same club, did not hit the same shot. Um, Fatted it short of the front bunker, um,
Mm.
which, to be perfectly honest, there's worse places to miss that green.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, wasn't able to quite get up and down, and resulted in a unforced error bogey.
Mm. Yeah. And as good as your shot was on Saturday, that
Yeah,
6 iron you hit on Sunday was a bit ordinary. But look,
consistency.
I'd also on that hole identified that we were downwind. So I took a club less, and I took a 7 iron, and basically hit it straight to the middle of the green, and a too easy two putt for par.
So that puts you two up
Two up.
after 11.
Yeah.
Two up.
With seven to play. And look, I was feeling pretty comfortable at this stage, I have to admit.
Yes. And I knew I had to do something special
Yeah.
to
I
get
felt
back in the
like I was
game.
pulling away. We're on the
I
back
think
nine,
I
seven
think
holes
we
to play.
yeah, I think we could all feel it.
Yeah.
So I knew at that point, walking to the 12th tee, and there's a bit of a walk between the 11th
Mm.
green and the 12th tee.
Yeah.
And there was just something going through my mind going, I need something special.
Mm.
I need to put the foot down. I need to win this hole. And if not get two or three shots, at least get one shot back from this lead, because I can't allow this to get away from me. So I was laser focused.
Mm.
I put the tee in the ground, ball on top of it. Obviously, that's helpful. And I lined myself up. Now the 12th hole, it's a fairly long par 5. There's water all up the left. There's trees down the right. It's a tough driving hole. It's always one that you're happy to get behind you. But like I say, I was pumped. I was ready, and a good rip at the ball. And I reckon I probably hit the top half of it. Um, just cleared the small lake in front of the tee box, bounced off the side of the ladies' tee
Yep.
box, and rolled down into the second lake.
Yep.
Slightly disappointing.
Mm.
And the window of opportunity not only opened, Andy Walker, but I think it blew off its
Yeah.
hinges for you
It
at that
did.
point.
It did.
So I had to drop one,
Yep.
and then pulled out the 5 wood, smacked one up the fairway, 6 iron to the green, but just to the right of the green, chipped on, and a couple of putts, all up for a double bogey, which was
Wow.
heartbreaking on a hole that I knew I needed to do something to try and peg one back. Yeah, it was very disappointing, Andy Walker.
Yep.
But how did you go?
Oh, look, given there was the water hazard all the way up the left, and my snap hook had reared its ugly head a couple of the holes or some holes earlier, I had a bit of a blocky to the right into the tree line.
Mm.
I think that was a bit of a safety first, don't hit it left type shot. But, after seeing your ball, I'm still pretty comfortable, I have to admit.
Fair
Um,
enough.
And anyway, I sort of start walking, into the tree line, and Alex had already, because he was in a cart, he'd gone up there, played his ball, and I said, "Oh, Alex, have you seen another ball?" And he goes, "Yeah, there's another ball just down there just past the gum tree." And I sort of looked and I saw it and went, "Yep, no problem at all." Went down there, looked at the ball. Yep, Titleist 4, that's my ball, no problem at all. Didn't have a shot. Really could only bunt a 6 iron back onto the fairway, which I did. Walked down, and I had about probably 200 to the flag. So I thought, yeah, this is probably a good sort of driving iron. My 3 driving irons, about the length that I hit my driving iron. So I was lining up my shot, and I heard, "Oi, did one of you guys want a
Oh,
Titleist 4 with a squiggle on it?"
oh no.
And I'm like, "No, I don't have a squiggle on it. I've got my logo on it, which is
Which
a
look,
8."
ladies and gentlemen, looks like a squiggle.
Anyway, I checked the ball that I just hit, and lo and behold,
Not your
it
ball.
wasn't my ball. And I went, "Oh,
Controversy.
oops."
Big oops.
So, tail between my legs, picked the ball up, went back
Oh,
up, showed the bloke where I hit the ball from, went back to my ball, and ironically, actually had a reasonably good shot back on back onto the fairway. So if I had have just and look, it was a Titleist 4. It was a Pro V1X. No, sorry, a Pro
Pro
V1
V1.
Titleist 4.
Mm,
Same ball. My logo was actually on the other side of the wall, which is why I didn't really sort of check it that well. It was just one of those moments that yeah, you look back and you go, really, really silly.
yeah,
But
schoolboy error.
yeah, very, very much a schoolboy error. Anyway, I knocked what's it, about my fifth, no, fourth shot back onto the fairway.
Mm,
Had about 132, I think it was, to the flag, but it was into the wind.
mm,
So I felt, as though it was probably a little bit too hard for a 9 iron, so I took my 8, and I actually hit a really, really good shot, almost at the flag. It was only maybe a meter left of the flag, but because of the shape of the green, and this is one of what you mentioned earlier, there's a
this
couple
was
of
the
little
sneaky pin
yeah,
placement. This
there's
one,
a
it's
couple of gnarly little pin
yeah.
placements you can have a dubbo, and it landed on the green, and it probably would have only been maybe a couple of meters from the flag at one point, maybe even closer, but because of the slope of the green, it actually
Oh,
rolled all the way
just
down and all the way
rejects.
off the green.
It's brutal.
And yeah, was pretty disappointed when I got down there and saw my pitch mark and saw where it ended up. And it was one of those shots that because of the shape of the green, if I had have tried to chip it at the flag, it would have
Couldn't.
just gone straight over the other side of the green and rolled into a fairly similar position on the other side of the green. And then I would have had the same shot basically coming back, which I had every chance of ending up back where I was. So I actually had to,
I've seen people do that with
yeah,
that pin placement of just go back and forth across the green for
I
shot
had
after
had
shot.
that written all over it.
Yeah.
So I had to aim away from the flag and just bunt a little 6-iron up
Yeah.
the slope onto the green. Two putts, 8. My
Which
second triple bogey of the
of the
round.
round, um, which means that your lead was cut to 1,
Yeah.
Andy Walker. Um, this is exciting with
So
6 to
so
play.
so that window of opportunity that just blew open.
I think you might have caught a finger in it as it slammed shut.
Yeah.
Um, which then we moved to 13. 13's a tough hole.
Yep.
It's an index either 1 or 2.
Mm.
It's a long par 4, fairly straight, out of bounds all up the left. Happy to say I hit a good drive, one of my best drives of the day,
Yep.
straight up the left side, still in the fairway. I was 146 out to the center of the green. Pin was tucked on the right-hand corner above a bunker, and it's a bunker you do not want to get into because it's a long way below the putting surface. So the smart play is to aim for the center of the green or even the left half of the green. Give yourself a simple couple of putts to make your par. So I went, I aimed at the center of the green with my trusty 8-iron, slightly tugged it, and hit it straight at the flag to about 6 feet. Unfortunately, missed the birdie putt, but it was a tap in par. So that was good fun.
Yep. Yep. And I hit again after my block right the previous hole on 12. It was a little bit blocky, but still managed to stay inside the tree line. Now, again, it was a little bit downwind. And I had 144, but I had to keep it low. And I thought, I can't really hit an 8-iron like I wanted to. So I had to hit a 7-iron, but just sort of came over the top of it and tugged it sort of left, went over the green and yeah, sort of stayed on top of the little knoll over the green. And, at this stage you were in quite close and I was just like, potential 2-shot swing here.
Would have been
Can't,
easily.
can't let this happen. So I hit what I thought was a really, really good pitch shot, and it landed. And I thought it was going to be, maybe a couple of feet. It was. I felt right off the club. It was really good. It landed on a slope which I hadn't seen, and basically stopped dead.
Yeah, there's a ridge. You hit right into the ridge.
Yeah. And yeah, I was just like, what the? I'd sort of felt as though the rub on the green wasn't going my way already that day, but I thought, maybe,
You had complained about that a few times
yeah, but I
actually at that
thought,
point.
I'm
Yeah.
going to grind, I'm going to hang in there, and surely things have got to turn around. And at that point, I was just like, maybe they won't. But anyway, I focused on the putt, left to right putt, and it was actually one of my better putts that I hit on Sunday, and it really never looked like missing. So yeah, up and down for a good par to
That was a
maintain my one shot
hell of an
lead.
up and down.
Yeah, of which
Yes.
I did mention to you on the way to the 14th tee. I think I just hold that to maintain my one shot lead. And there was a
You
bit of a
did.
discussion
You
that
did.
stage as to whether I was one in front or we're actually even. Because yeah, I think your return was, I thought we were even.
Well,
But
that's only because that's what Alex had told me.
hmm. So blame Alex. Is that
Yeah.
blame the Pilgrims?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, you blamed him for hitting the wrong ball on 12. So
I didn't say that at all. I didn't blame him for it. He pointed the ball out. I was still the one that hit it, right? I did say I didn't check my ball as well as diligently as what I should have. So
Okay. Okay. I'll let you off there. I'll let you off.
yeah.
Yes. Okay. So we moved to the 14th tee. 14th, by the way, is where I made triple the day before.
Yep.
So there was some mental scarring here. So again, 14th, water all up the right. trees all up the left. To be perfectly honest, I don't know which is a bigger punishment. They can both cost you a shot. I hit what I thought was a pretty good drive. Was up the left side, took a bit of an unfortunate bounce left, and just was not in the tree line, but did have some overhanging branch trouble. So I was about, what was I, around about 125 out, and I thought I'll try and cut a 9 iron, try and play it off the back foot low under the overhanging branches, and a nice big cut back to the green, which I did do onto the green to about probably 15 feet from the flag. But let's just say the shot shape that I had in my mind was probably about 25 meters higher
Yeah, right.
than what eventuated. But nevertheless, the result was exactly as drawn up. So I was happy with that. Once again, another tap in par because a birdie putt wouldn't drop, but take a tap in par there every day of the week.
Yeah. And look, for me, I'd hit my ball into the water the day before with a nice big high block fade. So I took my driving iron off that tee and I almost did the same thing. It was literally about a
Same
meter.
line.
Same line. I'm glad I hit my driving iron because
Yeah.
if I'd headed my driver on that line, I would have been taking a one-shot penalty for the hazard. So anyway, I was just inside the hazard. Hit a bit of a bladey 5 iron to just onto the fringe, rolled it down to maybe 2 feet and tapped it in. So maintain my one-shot lead,
Still a
feeling as
one-shot lead.
though it was a bit scrappy, same as the hole before, sort of got up and down for par. Technically that wasn't up and down because I was off. I wasn't on the green. It wasn't a green in reg. So yeah, sort of just felt as though I was just holding on just by, the
You were.
tips of my fingernails.
You were. You were. So we moved to the 15th tee. The 15th is a longish par three, plays a little bit longer than its yardage of about, well, close to 180, 175 to 180. Plays a little bit longer because it's uphill. Yeah, it's often a slightly tough hole. I think slightly into the breeze as well we were. So I hit the 4 hybrid, hit it really well, hit it really nicely, hit the green, easy 2 putts, take par, run as fast as you can to the 16th tee when you're playing 15 and you can make a par. So I was quite happy with that.
Yep. Yep. And look, I stood on the tee with a 5 iron and I was actually quite proud of myself there because I sort of was in between clubs of 4 iron, 5 iron. I felt as though I could hit a hard 5 iron, but just as I was lining up, I just felt the breeze pick up a little bit into the face, and I thought, no, I'm going to stop. I'd learnt my lesson from the ant. I'm going to stop. I'm going to swap clubs to a 4 iron. Stood up with a 4 iron and just blocked it straight right of
Sure
the
did.
green. Yeah, it was a long way right.
Yeah.
But by that stage, I was relatively confident with my pitching and getting up and down. So I pitched a 58 to probably what sort of 1.2, 1.3 meters, and rolled her in for an easy 3, another up and down.
It was good up and down.
Kept hold of
Your
that
short game
lead
keeping
with
you
my
in it at this
fingernails.
point.
It was, and with from the day before, sort of similar story in that I was really struggling with my swing, just wasn't going where I wanted it to go, and I didn't know whether it was going to go left or right, to be honest with you. I mean, you know how they say that if you can eliminate one side of the course, then
Well, you
that
can't.
puts you in a much better position. Well, yeah, I certainly was. The only part of the course I was eliminating was the middle of the fairway and middle of the green.
Yeah, successfully so. So we moved to 16. 16 is rated the easiest hole on the course. I would always beg to differ because it is a par 5. It's got a bit of a dog leg left. There's a fairway bunker. There's a heavily bunkered green complex. And on this day, there was a very nasty back left pin placement tucked around on a small little peninsula of green behind a bunker. So it was by no means an easy hole. The day before, however, I'd blocked my drive left, chipped out, hit a 7 iron onto the green, 2 putted for par. So when I blocked my drive left again on day 2, I wasn't too concerned. Chipped out, this time needed a 6 iron, got a bit aggressive going for the back left pin, I actually wasn't. I was aiming at the center of the green, to be fair, and missed the back left pin to the left. So short-sided, chipped on 2-putt bogey. Bit of a wasted opportunity, in
Mm.
fairness.
Yeah. And I was similar in that I was around about where you were. I sort of hooked my drive, snap hook, came back out again after all my blocks. I sort of, you know, found the left side of the tree line, and I actually had a little corridor that, and there were, I actually had two corridors. I had one where I could have sort of pitched out to maybe about 100 from the green, and I had a second corridor where I was about 200 out from the front of the green, and I felt as though that this corridor was just set up perfectly for me just to hit a nice low three driving iron, turn it over and get maybe either just short of the green or on the green. I was pretty confident over the ball, and I have hit probably one of my best shots of the 36 holes. I absolutely drilled it, and in the sort of split second when it comes off the club, you just go, wow, I've hit that really,
It's
really well.
flush. Yep.
Flushed it. And in this little corridor, the last branch of the last tree, it's hit it smack bang in the middle of it, went straight up in onto the fairway, maybe 145 to, from
Yeah.
the middle of the green.
Yeah.
And I just went, man, like I've just absolutely drilled this 3-iron almost exactly. I wanted to obviously keep it under that branch, but you know, I was, yeah, wasn't overly happy at this point. But I did well. I sort of put it behind me. I didn't blow up or anything like that. Went down, hit a pretty ordinary 7-iron. I have to say it was pretty fat to sort of short and left, and I couldn't go at the flag again because the flag was sort of
No.
tucked around that short left bunker. So pitched it to maybe about 18 feet, 20 feet, and easy 2-putt for bogey, which was
Mm.
quite disappointing for the easiest hole in the golf course.
I know. I know. It's a bit
So
anticlimactic, in
yeah,
fairness.
so maintained through your mistake, my mistake, maintained a one-shot lead
One shot
with
lead, two to
two
play.
holes to play. Yeah.
And I think at this point, I feel like we had the conversation about Andy Walker. It wasn't meant to be this close.
That is true. We did.
They said the 9 marker could not compete off the stick with the 5 marker over 36 holes, yet 34 holes in, there was only one shot in it.
Mm.
So we went to 17.
We did.
Now I think we maybe change up the cadence here. I feel like we potentially go shot for shot on this rather than running through the entire hole. So who teed off first on this one? Did you or I?
I think I teed off
I
first.
think you did. I think you did.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And after 12, 13, and 14 hitting block rights and then and then
And then
on
snapping
fit
one on 16.
hitting a snap on 16, I didn't have any idea where my tee shot was going to go on 17. So anyway, luck would have it that the block came out again
Sure did.
and yeah, went into the right tree line.
Mm. Ouch. That
Mm,
window of opportunity just creaked open as I stepped up and smoked a drive
yep.
up the left side of the fairway,
Mm,
leaving me about, it's a long par 4, actually, we should say. 17 and 13 are the stroke 1 and 2. They sometimes change order. I'm not sure which way around it was, but anyway, it's a long par 4. So hit one of my better drives, but I was still about 175 out to a centre back pin. Once again, just above that nasty ridge in which cuts across the centre of the green. Yeah, so you were kind of digging around in the trees for your
yep.
ball.
Yeah. And I thought I'd found it a couple of times, but
yeah, it's where the range kind of encroaches in. So
yep.
whilst playing ready golf,
Yep.
I thought I'll hit my second. So yeah, about 175 out, hit my 5-iron. And we talked about 6 iron on 11 the day before.
Yep.
I reckon this 5 iron was flushed better than that
Wow.
6 iron.
Mm.
I rate this shot as the best shot I hit on the weekend.
Oh wow. Okay. Yep.
And it's
And
gone,
I didn't see the shot because I
no,
was messing
you
around in the
didn't
tree
see
line.
it. And Alex was driving around somewhere in his cart, so he didn't see it either. And I was standing there going, good shot, Stevie. As it sailed down and it landed about probably a meter past the pin and about a meter and a half to the left of it, rolled out another meter or so. So I had probably about 12 to 15 feet down the
Mm.
hill.
Yep.
It was a cracker of an iron shot.
Mm.
Yeah, I was very, very happy with that. So,
Yep.
how'd you go out of the trees, Andy Walker?
Yeah, look, I found my ball and it was just pitch out, basically. Had no other option, had no shot at the green. So I pitched out, still had about 100 meters to the flag. Hit a 50-degree wedge pretty poorly. Ended up just on the left side of the green, probably 25 feet or so
Be more than that.
across
I
the
reckon it was
green.
about 40.
You reckon it was that long?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah,
Whole width of the green, pretty much.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, I do remember though when as I was sort of had the rangefinder out and I was getting a distance for that shot, I did see your ball on the green, and I
Mm,
wasn't sure whether it was your ball or Alex's ball, and I was like, "Geez, I hope that's not Steve's ball." But it was
it
obviously, and
was.
we got down there, and I hit. Well, it wasn't a bad putt. It was good for speed, but just I under borrowed, and it was probably 3 feet or so up, sort of left to right, up the hill.
Mm.
And I actually felt pretty confident over the putt. Stood over there, and it I hit quite a conservative putt. I
Mm.
actually thought it was going to miss, as I think everyone else in the group did, and it just sort of stopped
This
on the short right edge of the hole and sort of like, well, maybe not quite like Tiger Woods's Nike shot on 16 at Augusta, whatever year that was, but it just
uh,
rolled over the lip into the hole and good solid
trick,
five.
tricking it for bogey. Have you dead set just compared yourself to Tiger Woods?
Yep.
That's amazing.
I mean, it was a pretty important, event.
Yeah.
Um,
No, no, that
don't you
that's
think?
good. That's good. That's good.
Similar circumstance.
Yeah, 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 yeah. No. Um,
I mean, his was a pretty difficult little pitch shot, whereas mine was a 3 foot putt. But
same, but
semantics.
somewhat different. So anyway, I was standing over my birdie putt, which is say 12 to 15 foot, something like that, down the hill. But the problem was, like as we mentioned, greens were lightning,
Mm.
down the hill, and then beyond the hole was this enormous drop off shelf down to the lower tier. So you certainly couldn't have a run at it. And the challenge was getting the ball as close to the hole as possible without it running on and really bringing three putt into play. So I was pretty happy with the lag putt. Like actually left it to about less than a foot, tapped in the par putt, and we moved to the 18th tee. Andy Walker, after 35 holes of stroke play, all square,
Yep.
tied in the match,
Yep.
tied for the tournament.
Mm.
Now, I
It
just want to take a moment and say that was like, you could not have scripted the weekend any better than that.
it was unexpected, I have to say.
I'd seen it coming. Um, but it was just like, in not being silly about it, like that just was brilliant. We could
Mm.
play another 25 weekends, and I don't
Yeah.
think we'd ever,
No.
without contriving it, end up all square after 35 holes.
No.
Um, so we moved to the 18th tee. Now, the 18th hole is another tough par three up the hill, playing about was it playing about 180 odd meters?
185 I
Yeah,
got in the rangefinder.
185. And it is a green which is heavily sloping left to right.
Mm.
And the pin was tucked right up on the top of the green on the left hand side. So whatever you do, don't miss left because short siding downhill, yeah, you chip onto that green and your ball would not stop. It'd be down
Yep.
to the bottom side of the green. Did I tee off first or did you tee
Yeah,
off
you did.
first?
No, you
I
teed
did.
off first.
Yeah, I think I teed off first. Took the 4 hybrid again, aimed at the right side. The plan was aim at the right side of the green with a little bit of a cut to try and bring it back into the green, like into the bank of the green. Hit it a bit thin, in fairness. Came out a bit low and squirty, but it was okay. It finished about 2 meters from the front of the green.
Yep.
Stayed away from the bunker,
Mm.
just on the fringe. It
And
was
it
a
was
little
a
up, a
relatively
little
easy,
uphill.
yeah, relatively easy pitch up to the flag, you have to say.
Yeah, so nothing too treacherous about that. In terms of places to miss, it was a pretty good spot to miss.
Mm.
So I felt relatively confident. How did you go on your tee shot, Andy Walker?
Yeah, look, it was 185 is probably a little bit too far for a 4 iron. So I took my 3 driving iron, but I didn't want to hit it like flush. So I just wanted to have a nice sort of smooth, easy swing. Unfortunately, it was a little bit too easy. Felt like a bit of a decel, blocky to the right, and actually right of the right bunker.
Mm,
So yeah, but again, it was the right side of the green to miss it.
mm.
Um,
Just maybe
Pretty
not that
ordinary,
far right.
yeah,
Yeah.
pretty ordinary shot. But at the end of the day, I preferred where I was than actually being in the bunker. I have to admit.
Yep. 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 I would support that.
Yeah. So
Um,
I was first up, so I was further away from the flag. Now I had to pitch it over a bunker, but I had a huge amount of green to work with and was all
mm,
uphill. I actually felt as though the slope was too great for either my 58 or 54. So I took my 50-degree wedge and just bunted one, landed maybe halfway to the flag and sort of checked to around about 12 feet short of the flag. And I thought, oh yeah, that's not too bad. Uphill putt, reasonable chance for a par.
mm. So I then had a chance to chip. Um, at which point Alex was busily putting the chains and the poles back into position beyond the bunker where he had to take them all apart to play his
Mm.
chip. Not blaming him.
Sounds like you are.
No. I actually didn't realize he was doing that at all. I had no idea he was doing it. So, it's completely irrelevant to the story. But it was just that he was talking about it afterwards. So I thought I'd raise it.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I was thinking about a few different options. I could have taken the sand wedge and thrown it up high, a long way towards the flag. Bit risky though, particularly off the Kikuyu.
Yeah.
So I thought, no, I'll play the percentage play, pull out the pitching wedge, bump and run, and just kind of hit it like a putter swing more than anything else, and roll it on up towards the flag. Um, and a good plan, very good plan. Except for the fact that the execution let me down a little, and we're all familiar with the chili dip, the chunk, the whatever you want to call it. I reckon I hit the ground about 2 inches before the
Mm.
ball, and the leading edge dug right in, and the ball went about 1.5 meters and didn't quite make the green.
No.
Can't remember the last time I literally didn't get even to the green from that close, but um, that was a little bit soul destroying.
Mm.
But practicing acceptance, Andy Walker,
Yep.
as I did, I then moved on with my life, pulled the putter out and putted mine up from there, very close to your marker actually.
Yeah. A little bit short of mine, probably another foot outside
It
my putt.
was, which was all the difference because that meant that I gave you the line as I hit my putt, which just did not quite drop, and I tapped in for double bogey for the
Mm.
second time in 2 rounds on 18 in two very
So
different ways.
So at this stage, I'm going, all right, I've got 2 putts to win. Really didn't want to. I mean, it was uphill, and I could have been a bit more aggressive than what I actually was, but I just didn't want to be too aggressive because the greens were pretty quick, and it was a left to right, and I knew it could probably get away
Oh, and
from
you
me a little
didn't want to
bit.
get above that hole either.
No, so yeah, so I actually took a little bit extra borrow, and just yeah, lagged it up there to, well, 6 inches, tapped in for a commanding victory.
Well, you say that, but let's unpack things a little bit here. It was heartbreaking not to beat you over the 2 days, gross. But this I will say, those rounds for anyone keeping score at home meant that Andy Walker finished day two with an 82. I finished day two with an 81.
Yeah,
To at least beat you on one of the 2 days
you
and
did.
to also take the title of the low round for the weekend,
Correct.
against your 82 and your 83. So your 82, your 83 gave you a total of 165 for the weekend. My 81 and 85 gave me a total of 166 for the weekend. Who would ever have scripted it to be that close off the off the stick? Which meant that net results, your 79 and 78 over your 2 days gave you 157 versus my 71 and 76 for 147 for what I would like to
Yeah,
call
that's smoked.
a commanding victory.
Yeah, look, and as I've said, I didn't make the trip for the net, so irrelevant really.
Well, just some other stats that you might be interested in. If you want to talk gross, where we finished overall in the tournament was gross. Andy Walker tied for 22nd.
Two,
And
two.
22, yeah, tied for 22nd with another guy. So that meant that I then one shot back finished in 24th. I think respectable. I do.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting to look at the net results for the tournament. Net results, Andy Walker finishing 23rd.
So pretty consistent overall. I
Pretty
mean,
consistent.
I've had 83, 82
Yeah.
and finished 22nd and 23rd.
Yeah. And my finish after coming second in the field on day two, actually tied for first, but on countback being awarded second place, which cost me a little bit of money, but anyway, that's okay. But that meant overall finishing fifth in the Macquarie Cup.
Nice.
So pretty happy with that.
Yeah, yeah. So that would have been also been a flag round for you, yeah?
Matter of fact, it was Andy
So what?
Walker.
So how did that impact handicap? I
Well,
mean,
this is
we've got to
exciting.
cover that.
This is exciting. Well, there's a couple of things that happened here because actually day one also was in fact a flag round because I had an 8.8 dropping out the other end.
Oh, right. Okay. So two
And that
flag
meant,
rounds.
yeah, well, 1-1 is how I'd like to call it because the first round became my highest flag round.
Yeah, right.
So an 8.8 dropped out. It replaced it with a 12.4 or something. That saw me bump up overnight to 9.5 from 9.0. And then after day two with the 81, actually, because the course rating was given a +2 difficulty for the day due to the pin placements. So the 81 actually counted as a differential of 7.1, and that dropped my handicap index to 8.8 Andy Walker.
8.8.
First time ever in the eights.
Nice.
That's exciting.
Nice. Oh, well, that's good. That's progress. That's going well after day one, going in the opposite direction and then coming back with a vengeance.
With a vengeance,
on day
absolutely.
two.
So that's exciting.
Yeah, neither round flag round actually went out 0.1, 4.1. Yeah.
So that is exciting. Ladies and gentlemen, that's the story of the Macquarie Cup. It's been a bit of a marathon tonight, but it was a story we needed to tell.
Yep. Yeah. And look, I think it was as we covered earlier, a bit unusual, was rather
Was.
amusing at times. It was a really, really good weekend and great company. And I think the Walker clan and the Hinks clan get on very, very well. The wives get on well. Our two boys are about the same age. They get on exceptionally well. Even your daughter and my daughter, who there's a bit of an age gap there, but I
Mm.
think they got on relatively well, and they all seemed to play together well in the pool while we had some bevies in the spa.
Mate, it was good times. It was very, very good times had by all. I can't wait until the next opportunity to do it
Mm.
again. I'm sure there'll be something in between now and next year's Macquarie Cup. We've got
Oh, for sure.
a few ideas lined up, which we will no doubt book in and let everybody know.
Yeah,
But also, without giving too much away, there's some exciting things lined up for the Missing Links Golf Show coming over the next month
yeah,
or so. Hopefully, if things pan out, we'll have some very, very interesting episodes coming away. I'm not going to
yes,
give too much away.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
No, the next, well, probably the next 2 months, I reckon. Seeing what we've got lined up, next 2 months is going to be a very,
it's pretty
very
cool.
interesting pilgrimage.
It is. It is. So thank you once again, Pilgrims, for listening. Get out there, social media, Missing Links Golf Show on Facebook, TML Golf Show on X, Missing Links Golf Show on Instagram. Where else are we? You can email us at the Missing Links Golf Show at gmail.com. Um, find us wherever you can find us. Just go looking. Find us on the golf course. That's it from me. It's been a marathon. Have a great evening. Andy Walker, any final messages?
Oh, look, I think we've covered a fair bit tonight, and yeah, part of it's just, I think, acceptance. It's playing, to your ability, and just accepting the end result. But at the end of the day, it's yeah, just having a bit of fun and being out there. So rock on, pilgrims.